Looking good, Italian Job.
I'm feeling good, Tommy boy. How are you, brother?
I'm doing real well. Rumor has it you had yourself a full day.
I did. You know, sometimes mammon is good, and then sometimes mammon is work. And today it was work. Today was about 8 hours nonstop of meetings. But this is a type of meeting I enjoy having because you guys actually get things done, whereas at work we just kind of talk about things that need to get done. So I'm excited for our conversation today.
Let alone the meetings after the meetings to discuss what was discussed in the meeting. So,
pre-meet the meeting, have the meeting, post-meet the meeting, so you can talk about the meeting that you're going to have next week. It's just a cyclical condition. It's a cycle.
well, may the group email gods forgive you and you not receive a group email with multiple responses.
Hey, Tommy boy, are you back in the gloom? I know that you were coming off of an injury. Are you back out there kicking it and crushing the sweat-filled morning gloom?
Funny you should ask. I made a swing at it last week. It lasted about 30 minutes through the workout, and then my entire body said nope. So I went off and did a little swearing and stretching. And then this evening at 7 o'clock, we have our closing time AO. Last week, our guest was the King and Gridlock. And so I've committed to them to be there this evening. What happens after that, I can't say. I just know that I'll give it my best, and hopefully the back will hold up. So here goes nothing.
Well, get at it, man. I hope you recover quick.
Yeah,
I know the guys need you out there. Yeah, absolutely.
Far too long. All right. So speaking of the guys and what they need, Stuff We're Trying podcast, once again, the Slack channel has come through. We've got 3 high impact dudes who, on a whim, threw out an idea to the podcast, or rather to the Stuff We're Trying feed. Certainly piqued my interest, and I think it answers a really big question and questions for other regions. So without further ado, all the way from F3 Knoxville, let's bring on our cast of characters. We've got OnStar, we've got Blindside, we've got Steam. Fellas, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Indeed. I'm going to go in no particular order except the Brady Bunch order, which is always the go-to standard. OnStar, give us your name and Rama and how you wound up with your handle.
All right. Arthur Diaz, 35, OnStar. And my handle is a very embarrassing story.
Those are always the best. Always.
Hold on, let me adjust the volume for perfect voice recording. All right, go for it.
The first F3 workout I went to, I had no prior preparation. I was EH'd by someone outside my region, a friend who was going to it in Seattle, and he didn't prep me at all. So when the guys asked me, okay, tell us your most embarrassing story, I told the first one that came to mind, which is when I was 19. I was coming off of a party. I had played a gig as a bass player. Going back home, saw 2 girls asking for a ride. Thought it was my lucky day. Gave them a ride. And then afterwards, when I went to go back home, my car wouldn't start. This is back about 16 years ago. So no internet, no nothing. Had to call my mom to get a tow truck.
Oh, no.
What happened? And that's how OnStar came about. I'm glad I already told my wife this story, and this is not the first time she's going to hear it. So
I was kind of hoping that the moral of the story would be that's how I met my wife, but I guess not.
No.
Well, good on you for having the courage to share that, and I'm glad you're sitting here today to do so. Blindside, I got you next, brother.
Hey, Davis Bodie, 35, Blindside. I got my name from an embarrassing story. I really think it might rival yours, OnStar. I'm in school administrator now, but back when I was in the classroom, I had a principal observing my lesson, and it was an incredible 8th grade American history lesson. Probably had something to do with Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson. The kids were engaged, hitting all my indicators. And on the way out after the class, she stops by me at the door and says, I don't mean to blindside you, but your zipper's been down the whole time.
Yes.
Oh snap.
Oh,
that's great.
Yeah, so that was great. And it's ironic, too, because they named me Blindside and didn't even realize I actually played against Michael Orr, the movie and books named after, in high school. Played football against him in high school. So it's a good double meaning there. But,
right.
Yeah.
Well, one of them
I
wound
mean-
up being the theme of a Hollywood movie. The other one found F3. So we know who the clear winner is.
Absolutely.
And Steam, take us home, buddy.
And mine is going to be less exciting than both of theirs combined. The first time I came out to F3, I literally took my shirt off after the workout and started steaming. And that's where steam came. It's not as exciting as it sounds, right? It's not this great story. It's,
I keep telling you to come up with a better story than that, Steve.
I know.
Yeah, at this point, you own the handle, right? So you can come up with your own superhero origin story.
That's
It could have
exactly
been worse,
right.
though. Could have been worse.
It could have been. You could have been Steamer. So there's lots of ways to make things
That's
worse.
right.
Name change right now, right here, right now. It sounds like that just happened.
Time of death, time of birth, 440.
That's right.
All right, fellas. I remember day one coming home, being exhausted, but also riding high on that F3 feeling, and immediately wanted to dive in and just explore everything there was to explore, learn everything there was to learn. So I hopped on the website and talk about drinking from a fire hose, right? There's so much content. There's so much, and the lexicon alone, I know we joked before we hit record, you go to find out what a word means, what a slang word means, and you get lost in 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 clicks trying to figure out what one thing means, only to learn that no idea what the definition of that thing even means. So all of that is to say, you guys put out there on Slack a really great idea. I'm going to let you run with it. I'm going to bury the lead because I want you to uncover it for the Podpaxers. Tell us a little bit about how Knoxville handles the, for lack of a better term, onboarding of an FNG.
So I had the exact same experience you had, except for I had pretty much all day on an in-service day to really dive into the kind of lore and background of F3, and seeing FNGs come and go over the next couple months. First off, the first thing I thought of was, why aren't these guys doing the same thing I did? And a couple of the things that we've done in Knoxville is we have an FNG Google form that the site queues have on their phone, or someone there fills it out, goes to a spreadsheet, and then we try to follow up with those guys. One of the things on that form is that you guys write down who brought them out, so that we can kind of maybe even follow up with that guy. So that's one of the things we've been doing. I guess Steam OnStar for at least 2 years. I think we're in our second year of doing it, because I did have to make the new spreadsheet for this year. What else do you guys think, Steam?
Yeah, it's really user friendly. What used to be a pretty clunky process for site queues or the queue of that day to try and get the FNG's info and send it to the right person is pretty streamlined now. But when we add them to Slack, they get added to 3 or 4 channels. One of those is a welcome to F3 channel with things like the lexicon, exicon. Our shared leadership team is in that channel as well. It's a great place for FAQs, all of the workout locations for our region. So it's a one-stop shop for them to plug in, which makes it a lot easier to get the information they need than plug into some of the other AO channels that may be closer to them.
Yeah. And we've also recently updated that channel with some of the new stuff we've put out, like our State of the Region recording, to give the FNGs some idea of what's going on in Knoxville, where F3 Knoxville is headed, where it's coming from, what we've done, what we plan on doing, what activities we have down the pipeline, and so on, so they can start understanding a bit more of who we are and what we're doing.
So you mentioned this kind of the state of the region, and I think that's what is really, piqued our interest was, what is this? You mentioned you kind of recorded something, you send it out, so the guys who may not be there or may be fairly new, it kind of gives them a runway. So what is your State of the Union? Or State of the region? How did you guys record it? Where did you put it? What was in it? For the regions who have never heard of that, give them a heads up of what that is and how valuable it is to your region.
So
Originally,
go ahead, Steve.
Well, originally it was supposed to be a 20-minute conversation between some of the shared leadership team, just talking about things we've done in the past 6 months, a look back, if you will, which actually ended up being closer to an hour conversation about some of the events, CSOPs, things like that we've done. And originally it was supposed to be one call actually over Zoom. We recorded it. It was supposed to be both 6 months previous and looking forward to the next 6 months. That actually got divided in two because the first part took so long as we were realizing, hey, we have a lot to cover, things we've done for the first part of the year. And so we rolled that part out first, and I put that on some of our Mumble Chatter channels in Slack, send it out on our YouTube page, on our weekly newsletter that our Nantan sends out. And then part two, looking forward to the next 6 months, events that are coming up, changes. We turn 8 this year as a region, so looking forward to that big event later this year. We got together again, and that actually ended up being closer to an hour conversation as well, rather than originally that 20 to 30 minute sweet spot.
Yeah, so we went from a 20 to 30 minute call to 2 1 hour long calls. So
yeah,
I really
which is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. I really think that it came about really because of, unfortunately, the press that we got a little bit at the beginning of this year here in Knoxville with having one of our high impact men pass away during his VQ. And I'll take this opportunity to thank everybody out there in F3 Nation and across the world that reached out to us here in Knoxville. A majority of our guys didn't even know Cardinal personally, but knew that he wore the F3 logo on his chest and was in the middle of his VQ. So, that really kind of got us thinking, where more people were reaching out to us, talking to us, that, we really need to be more intentional in what we're doing. There was a huge amount of guys that were the 5:15 to 6:30 group, or 5:30 to 6:15 group of they come, they work out, and then the rest of their day is theirs. And I think that bringing those guys into more of the second and third F aspects and letting them know what we're doing, trying to get them more active on Slack, listen to what we've been doing, and you're not just hearing it at the announcements at the end of a workout. And so Kickflip, our Nantan, came up with this idea for State of the Region, and he sent out 20-minute call. Then he sent out the agenda of what we're going to get through, and it was like a Google Doc page. It was 3 pages long, and he's like, everybody put their name next to what they want to talk about for 15 to 20 seconds. And I think we got through the end of the first half of the first page after 20 minutes, and I'm sitting there going, all right, we're not going to get this through. So it really ended up being pretty awesome, just looking back at the things that we had done and really trying to promote those things so that the guys that aren't there, outside of those workouts, see what we're doing and how meaningful and impactful it is around our entire region. And it really allowed us to try to focus our vision more of a region. And it's not just workouts during the week, Saturdays or convergences or CSOPs, but like, what else are we doing? What are we trying to do to try to focus on that mission of plant, grow, and serve small groups of male community leadership? I mean, it was just exactly the right time in our region to do this.
Yeah, it really showed us that it's coming to the time to radically refocus on that mission of planting more. We've recently starfished we turned into F3 Knoxville and F3 Smokies, and we have been growing, have the room to grow. So we are in the moment to really refocus on that mission of planting small workout groups for men in the region here in Knoxville.
I love the concept because, we all have full inboxes, right? So emails come and go, they get lost, they get deleted, they don't get read. And you also lose the tenor and the cadence of the messenger. Mm-hmm. And so being able to not only hear the voice and the emotion and the raw energy inside of a guy who's telling you about something that's changed his life, but being able to see it on his face. You mentioned Blindside, the guys who kind of, their F3 experiences for 45 minutes a day, or maybe an hour on the weekend. And you can't be around those types of guys, be exposed to a second or a third F opportunity and not want more of that stuff. I mean, it's just infectious. And this is a great way to kind of break through that barrier of the gloom warrior who you don't see at cafeteria or a service project. What other benefits are you guys seeing in the form of sharing it? And actually, before you share that, how do you share this with FNGs?
So like OnStar mentioned, we put both of the recordings in the Welcome to F3 channel that all the FNGs get added to with our team here in Knoxville. We also put that in our Mumble Chatter channel. We have a podcast, if you did not know, part of the F3 Nation family podcast called Beyond the Cot. So we put both of those episodes respectively out on our show on Monday and Thursday. And so we blasted that out through Slack, send it out through the weekly email that our Nantan sends out every Sunday as well. And then also just through word of mouth, at our own AOs or workouts, getting to share, hey, you should go listen to this, see some of the cool things we've been doing over the past year. Here's what's coming up. We just had a convergence in July. And so that was a really easy talking point for us to invite guys to say, hey, here's what's coming up like this. If you enjoyed this event, go listen to this episode on YouTube or Spotify.
What kind of feedback have you gotten from the packs?
Incredible feedback. There's a couple guys that were those gloom warriors and not doing very much that have reached out to myself and to Kickflip, the Nantan, and I know these other guys too, saying like, I did not know y'all were doing this. I had deleted my Slack app on my phone, during Lent or during, one of those things where they're limiting social media, and it comes right. And really just, the second one of what we're looking forward to was definitely one that was like, how can I help with this now? Or I didn't know that we were planning this. So it really allowed, if you play the game at telephone, we have our SLT meetings and information is then distributed out to the AOQs. And sometimes things get lost. You're breathing heavily after a workout, and the AOQ doesn't remember, that we're going to be doing these rucks on Saturdays from AO to AO. But if it's in, hey, you can remember to watch this video or check out the podcast or do this, that, or the other, that really helps, where you lose communication as it goes down the chain.
Yeah, even for guys
yeah, go ahead.
Well, for guys that may have not been posting in a while, but now are coming back to post as their schedules free up, it's a great way to get them re-engaged and re-excited about things that are coming up over the next year or so.
Yeah,
I got to imagine it creates some FOMO, right?
Yeah,
that was my goal, is to create FOMO. I mean, that if they think that something's going on that they want to do, they don't want to miss it. That's what I want. I want 100 guys at every convergence, and we've got another kind of mini convergence coming up next week. And we didn't talk about that in our state of the region, I don't think, because that's a relatively new thing. But we've got F3 in the nude coming up on next Saturday.
Whoa!
Yeah,
whoa! That's Blindside.
Yeah,
that's just a little. That's just a little, it was a great thing that our second FQ came up with. That is, shorts are required, but that's about it. And it's an idea that he got from another region that we're going to spin off and do. So something like that, where we're throwing out F3 in the nude as a upcoming event. People are like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we did.
Tell me more.
We just mentioned the name of it. We said we've got F3 in the nude coming up. You're going to get more details on the podcast, on the newsletter. For now, that's all you get. And that definitely generated some buzz as to, wait, what? What?
I imagine FIA might have been interested in the convergence if that were the case.
F3 Knoxville just started an OnlyFans page, I think. See what you need to do, though, is make that a fundraiser. So you start off with just a pair of Ranger panties, right? But for every $10 or so that you add on, you can put a layer of clothing back on. So you'll have those guys who will just be shamed, for lack of a better term, to put on more clothes.
There we go.
So, it's creating that sense of missing out FOMO, like you said, Tommy. Way that is something that I think really. The guys that have been doing F3 for a while and maybe have fallen off, they remember those things and they remember doing them when they were active. And so kind of bringing back that reason why they kept coming to begin with. So not only to attract and keep FNGs, but also to bring back those cotters that, we're almost 8 years old, and Knoxville, I think we have, since moving to Slack, we have 1,000 members in our Slack channel, over 1,000. And I would say maybe 500 to 600 of them are active guys, and so we're looking at how we can bring them back along with growing new F&Gs and guys to come in and stay. It's really something we're trying to kind of juggle both things with that.
Strong work. I love, it lives right into the credo too, to make sure that nobody's left behind, but then also the full extension of not leaving them where you found them. So come out, enjoy F3, get into it, get hyped up, and then start giving back to it. Right. I dig it. Well, listen, fellas, we can go down the line and I can give you all final thoughts here. Here's what we're going to do for those who are tuned in. I'm going to drop both links in the show notes so they can get an example of where you've been and where you're headed, and maybe get inspired to create their own messaging that could go out to guys who are prone to just delete an email, a welcome email. They'll at least have an opportunity to find other ways to put F3 in front of an FNG. So we'll go in the same order. OnStar, any final thoughts, brother?
I just think that these types of initiatives are essential because we all know that fitness in F3 is just what's meant to bring you in the door, right? To get you started. But what's meant to hold you there and make you grow is the fellowship, the faith, and everything that comes with it. So an initiative like this, doing a State of the Region, doing a regional podcast, lets you create that sense of community, lets you create that FOMO, lets you show the other guys, listen, I know the workouts are cool. I know that's great to come out there and start your day well, start it out by basically beating yourself into a pulp till you're exhausted. But there's a lot more to that. I still remember the first major event that I went here in Knoxville, and it was what made me go from a PAX who was showing up just on Saturdays to someone who was trying to go 2, 3, maybe 4 times a week. So those moments are what really bring F3 together.
And now you're sitting on the podcast wearing a weighted vest while being interviewed. How about you, Blindside?
So, I would say, you mentioned you're going to drop the link. Watch these State of the Regions. It may not be from Knoxville, but you can see that it was very loose. And, we had a outline, but, I think 2 of us were at the beach on vacation. So we've got families running in the background. I think I had a lightning storm behind me. We really went with it loose and did those 2 hours, or the first hour that way. And then, we've actually looking at doing a part 3 soon, which is more of the vision. So not just the things that we're doing, but why we're doing it and what our vision is. So, it's one of those things you're free to lead. And, as soon as Kickflip came up with the idea, I think we had 10 guys immediately make the hard commit to be there. And so I would just say, just do it. It's good, at least for the SLT, to talk it out that way as well. Even if we had never published it, we talked through a lot of things with it. So I think it's really helpful for your SLT, or even putting it out to the PAX region.
All right, Steve, land that Knoxville plane, brother.
Well, a lot of the credit, really all the credit, goes to Kickflip for putting this all together. I mean, he had a great vision for this, and for me, I think it's exciting to see some of the activity we've done, like what we're doing to grow as a region. But it's also really impactful to invite guys into where we're going together as a region over the next 6 months or a year. And so we get 2 of those things together. And there's a great quote I heard that I just thought of, kind of thinking about these things. Custom costs more. For those guys, like you said, that may not check an email, customize the communication to get it out to guys. Some guys may check Slack way more, and that's a much easier avenue of approach to reach those guys. So we're excited to continue doing this. We've already talked about making this a regular thing every year, doing a 6-month look back and 6-month look forward, and hopefully we'll be able to cast a lot of vision and continue growing as a region as we head towards 8 years.
I dig it. Outstanding. And for context, how old of a region is Knoxville?
We're coming up on 8 years.
There you
8
go.
years this November.
8 years.
Outstanding. Well, happy early anniversary. And for younger regions out there, this is a great way to build momentum early. I can imagine, I'll speak for you guys. I know for F3 Greensboro, there's a lot of things we wish we would have done sooner. And I'm guessing that this is probably one of them for you guys, just because of the benefits that you're seeing from it. Well, thanks for carving out time and coming on the show. Italian Job. I know you're en route here, there, and everywhere. You're Roy Kent today.
Roy Kent, baby.
But if I could put you on the spot, any final thoughts from you, my friend?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a lot of times the guys ask the question or they feel like, hey, that SLT, I don't know what they're really doing. I don't know what they're talking about. It kind of feels like the cool kids clubs, and I feel like I'm left out. I love the concept of we're going to put it out there for you to digest. We're hiding nothing. We're sharing everything. And if you can't join us, then watch it. And I think it's a fantastic idea, something that I think would be beneficial because, some guys can't carve out the time, but at 3:00 in the morning, that maybe that's their time, or they just tuck the kids in and they're not quite asleep yet. They'll plug some headphones in and listen for 20 minutes at a time or whatever it is, carving out that time. So love the concept of making the message and then delivering it in multiple ways so a guy can consume it at his leisure. So well done on that. As you guys were talking today, I started thinking about something that I wrote earlier this week. It's very short. It's one of the short tweets, but it's people can tell you all day long how pretty a sunrise is or what the ocean sounds like when it laps against the sand. But eventually you just have to experience it. You have to go to the beach, see a sunrise over the ocean, because you can read about it, you can hear about it. Heck, you might even smell it. But when you want to experience it, if life is meant to be lived and meant to be enjoyed. So men may hear a message that you put out there, but it's incumbent upon them to take it to the next level. I love the fact that you guys work out with your buddies. I mean, that sounds really cool. I wish I could do it. Then just do it. I really wish I could run an endurance race. Okay, well, I'll do it with you. I really wish I could lose a couple pounds. Well, I'll run right beside you. I really wish that I could dig deeper into my faith. Well, how about we do a study together? These are things we do together. We live life together. We enjoy life together. And I think that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're putting it all out there for everyone to consume, because the only way to live life is to enjoy it, to live it, to touch it, to feel it. And you guys are crushing it in Knoxville. And congrats on the 8 years. I know we've said that about 4 times this pod. It's 8 years, but congrats on 8 years. And a little teaser for those out there: Slaughter and Dark Helmet are about to put something out there of, hey, they want to take a road trip. They want to visit a region. There's going to be a Google form that goes out. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, I'd like to have them in my home region, maybe it's celebrating an anniversary or whatever it is, you'll see something coming out from the nation, and feel free to fill out the form and get those boys to travel out your way. So men of Knoxville, thank you so much. I enjoyed our time today. Tommy boy, thanks for indulging me on my cross Carolinas trip home from what is the Charlotte Mecklenburg traffic. But thank you, men. Love you. Appreciate it. Tommy boy, back to you, brother.
All right, fellas. Thanks again for tuning in. Those of you who are listening, an email hit your inbox this week from F3 Nation. We are looking for feedback to improve and continue accelerating all of our podcasts. So if you have an idea, we'd love to hear it. Took the survey myself, gave glowing reviews to Stuff Worth Trying, as always. It took me a total of 90 seconds. So jump in there, give your feedback so that we can all accelerate together. Until then, be good or be good at it. Love you, fellas.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.